but your vote makes an absolute difference in how this eventually comes out, and that's the reason why it's a political issue. And it has to do with laws, it has to do with the courts, but it's not just in the realm of the court. Some state Supreme Court justices are elected, some of them are appointed. The circuit court justices are all appointed by the president with the cooperation of the Senate. So it is all part of the political process, and when you vote, it makes a difference who ends up in those places. And so I think when you're asking the question, or people ask you the question, why is this a political issue? Well, the reason why is it's because it's a legal issue, and everything that's a legal issue is eventually a political issue, because that's how we get laws. And the impact of the decisions on our country, of course, has been immeasurable. So I want to talk a little bit, I don't have a slide, a little bit about Carhart and Gonzalez. Those were the two partial birth abortion ban decisions. So the first one that came through was Carhart. Carhart is the doctor who does these horrible abortions, and he did them in Nebraska, and Nebraska had a law that banned them, and so that was appealed to the Supreme Court, and the court upheld the law, which was, of course, a big setback. But then they started the process of passing the partial birth abortion ban at the federal level, and worked on it through the Clinton years. Clinton vetoed it. Was that 3 times? 2 or 3 times. But then Bush signed it. And it was a real signal, and of course it was appealed to the Supreme Court. But when it was upheld, that was the first time since Roe v. Wade that an abortion procedure has specifically been upheld by the Supreme Court that was allowed. Boy, I said that in really weird syntax. Let me back up. It was the first time since Roe that an abortion procedure was banned, abortion procedure ban was upheld. And the language in Justice Kennedy was the swing vote in that decision. He also wrote the opinion. The language in that opinion is amazing. And I think that Kennedy was sending lots of messages that he is willing to go further than a partial birth abortion ban to uphold further restrictions. And so it really is a matter of figuring out where that next set comes. Now, Oregon is not a place where we're going to experiment with those kind of laws. We do not have a political landscape that allows us to do that. But places like Nebraska, Tennessee, South Dakota, just even recently have been passing laws. The Pain Aware Fetal Act, and then Nebraska had an outright ban, and so those will, I'm predicting that those will end up at the Supreme Court, and it will be very, very interesting to see what Kennedy does with those. I think we probably know what Scalia and Alito and Thomas and Roberts will do with it, but what Kennedy does with it, that's the question. So thank you for listening in this late afternoon, and I appreciate it. And any questions, discussion, stuff that's wrong? Yes, go ahead. It was, I was shuffling around for this sheet. I think it was 1962. Oh, the question was, when did Oregon adopt their abortion law that made abortion legal? And I believe it was, I believe it was 62. Are you saying 69? I didn't bring my sheet, and I have not committed that to memory, unfortunately. So it is up on our website. They have wireless. I can go check. So, but it was pre-Roe. Yeah. Yes. So the question is, if Roe v. Wade is overturned, will we go back to the Dark Ages? There's 2 answers to that, and if you have a comment. One is the Dark Ages are a lie. And women were not, and you guys have probably seen, women were not dying in the numbers that were claimed. They just, basically, the pro-abortion folks just made up those numbers, made them up out of thin air. Abortion deaths from maternal deaths and deaths from illegal abortions went down with the discovery of penicillin. Was actually what was the other thing is that they were also the so-called back alley abortionists are exactly the ones that open the clinics to do the so-called legal abortions. They are not safe places. They are not healthy places. And it's not just because they go in and they kill a baby. It's because they practice on the periphery of legitimate medicine, and they operate. It's a cash business. And that is how they treat it, and it is not a compassionate service for women. It is a killing facility, and we can talk about it in extreme language, but that's what it is. The other thing is that overturning Roe v. Wade then would make each state responsible for regulating or not regulating abortion in their own state. Some states already have laws that would go back into effect, or some states have actually even passed what they call trigger laws, which is Roe v. Wade. If it's overturned, then these laws will go into effect. Someplace like Oregon, nothing would change. Abortion would still be legal on all 9 months for any reason, and the state of Oregon would pay for it. There would not be, overturning Roe v. Wade would not make abortion illegal in Oregon. It would make each state responsible for it. Now, there's one caveat to that. It would, if the court decided to make part of the opinion that an unborn human being is a person protected under the law, that could be the case, and then the Oregon laws would be superseded by that. So it really would depend on how the court came down and what kind of opinion it was. The question is, don't understand the logic when you see an ultrasound and know that's a scientific fact, that that's a human being, the logic behind Roe v. Wade. The Blackmun papers are very revealing on that question. They were not unaware of, there have been a lot of scientific advances since then, but they were not unaware of fetal development. That was discussed in the arguments before the court. They saw it as the child and the mother having competing interests, and they basically decided on behalf of the mother. The mother had her interests superseded the interests of the child, and it's they remove themselves, I think, from the reality of the situation and try to think about it solely in this idea of right to privacy. That's where they were reaching back. And so I'm not defending it. I just think that is the line of thought that they were going down. So there's these competing interests. Her interest in liberty to do what she wants with her body supersedes the interests of this child to live, which is mind-boggling. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not positive that hasn't been tried. I don't know for sure, but I don't have a comprehensive knowledge of cases that have been brought. I do know that the idea of standing is very complex, and you have to have standing to be able to bring a case. And I think that may be part of it, that an unborn child lacks legal standing because they're not considered a citizen based on they are, and it's a jurisdictional issue, and so it does become I think that's why, I don't know for sure, I wasn't in those rooms making those decisions, but I think that's why a lot of the legal and political action has pivoted towards some of these laws, because they've been able to pass them because they're common sense sort of things, and they know that they slow down abortion. Going beyond that and that may be part of, if you read the case I was able to scan it. I wasn't able to read it. It's right in the middle of primary season. But I scanned again the Gonzalez case that they upheld the federal partial birth abortion ban. In that ruling is a description of a partial birth abortion. It's extraordinary. And so I think that that information is being presented to them. It's a matter of having the right people in the right place to be able to figure out the right legal arguments. And that's the crux of it. Well, I mean, it's been pretty gradual, but most people would go back to Marbury versus Madison, which was the first time. I haven't committed the date to memory, but it was very early on in our country's history where the Supreme Court actually reviewed a case, a law, and made a decision based on whether or not it was constitutional. Because, right, I mean, it has moved. Oh, yeah, yes. Did you get to ask your question ever? Or, okay, this lady right in front of you, though. Okay. No, she did not. She had her baby. Yeah, and I think she gave him. Did she give the baby up for adoption? Yeah, that whole. I mean, her life was just a mess, totally, and completely being used. I mean, what our oratory winner said today was absolutely. She was just absolutely used, and so, okay, I'm.
But I was
good.
trying to sit.
Well, you can go grab a voter guide. We work pretty hard to make sure the people. We work very hard to assure that the people that we endorse and have in our voter guide are people that understand the issues and understand the importance of being a voice for life. But so, thank you.